Here on this channel, I cover the best ways to make money and gold within Red Dead Online. But one thing that I've never actually talked about on this channel is ability cards. So today we're going through the best ability cards to use dependent on your playstyle. Before I do get into the video, if you enjoy the content here and want to see a bit more from me, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Every single week we are uploading our latest tutorials and the latest news around Red Dead Online. So if you do want to stay up to date, then make sure you are following the channel. And getting back into the video, I never really cared much about ability cards, and it came down to a couple different reasons. But recently, as nothing is really happening content wise, I decided to try out a few different activities that I don't normally go through, such as showdown series. And with it, I spent a few weeks learning about ability cards and trying to put together different builds. So now that I actually know how to use ability cards, it makes sense for me to do a video on them. And as this is an introduction, there may be some info in here that you already know. So in the description, you can find timestamps to different parts of the video. The first thing to do is go over the ability cards currently within the game. There's a total of 33 ability cards varying from Deadeye, Combat, Defensive, and Recovery. Each has a different benefit to your character depending on the situation. Your first selection will be a Deadeye ability card, and in here you have 6 to choose from. And this is a moment to recuperate, focus fire, paint it black, slow and steady, quite an inspiration, and slippery bastard. With the combat ability cards, there are 8 to choose from. Here you have Gunslinger's Choice, Horseman, Sharpshooter, Necessity Breeds, Landon's Patience, the Short Game, Hangman, and Win and Streak. Under the recovery abilities, there's 10 to choose from, and this is Come Back Stronger, Iron Lungs, Kick in the Butt, Live for the Fight, Ride Like the Wind, Peak Condition, Eye for an Eye, The Gift of Focus, Strange Medicine, and Cold Blooded. And finally, out of your defensive ability cards, you have 9 to choose from. This is Fool Me Once, Friends for Life, Strength in Numbers, Hunker Down, To Fight Another Day, The Unblinking Eye, Take the Pain Away, Of Single Purpose, and Never Without One. With how Red Dead Online is set up, you can take 1 Deadeye ability card and 3 passive ability cards, which can either be combat, recovery, or defensive. The choice is entirely up to you. If you really want to go for a defensive playstyle, you can select 3 defensive ability cards and not have to select 1 of each. Likewise, if you want to be very combat orientated and not actually worry about the defense or recovery, then you can pick 3 combat ability cards. The choice is entirely up to you. The biggest thing with all of this though is that this is linked into a progression system, and it's linked into it in a number of different ways. It isn't as just simple as starting a new account and you have access to all of these different abilities, because you don't. When you first start out and go through the tutorial, right at the beginning, you will be given 1 of these ability cards for free. Now with this, you don't get to choose whichever one you want. You do have an option, but you're limited. You're limited to only the Deadeye. And for most people right at the beginning, the best one for you to pick is Paint It Black. But even after the tutorial, you can't just go into your ability card selection and select whatever you want, because each of these selections is locked behind a certain rank. So your Deadeye slot unlocks at rank 2. This is why you're able to do it within a tutorial. The 3 passive unlocks are rank 10, rank 20, and rank 40. So for this, you need to grind your character rank up to equip the maximum amounts of ability cards within your loadout. But with this, you will also need to work on building your rank up to unlock the ability cards themselves, as they're all locked behind a different character rank. The highest rank you must achieve to unlock all ability cards is rank 50. This is where you unlock Slippery Bastard. But even once you get to rank 50, still you do not have access to everything, because even though you've unlocked them through your character rank, you still need to actually buy into them. Each ability card costs $50 for you to first buy, but it doesn't stop there. The $50 will unlock them, but you have the basic version of the card. If you want to get the most out of these abilities, you need to upgrade them. And the way that you do this is by getting them for the $50, having them equipped, and then you need to grind 10,000 XP whilst they're equipped within your loadout. Once you have 10,000 XP with that ability card, it will then cost you a fee to upgrade them to level 2. You then need to go through this all over again with that ability card being within your loadout and you grinding XP. This time you need 15,000 XP, and once that's done, that's where you can upgrade it to level 3. Yet again, this is going to cost you a fee, but once that's done, you then have the best version of that ability card. There is a lot of time and money that can go into these abilities, but let me tell you, it is worth it. The third tier gives the best stats for the card and will give you the biggest edge over other players. I know right at the beginning, if you're starting this game, you obviously do not have enough money to buy and upgrade every single one of them. So the best thing for you to do is to select your ability cards and stick with them. Stick with them so that you can upgrade them, get the most out of them, and continue to use them. Once we get into late game where you are making thousands upon thousands out of the roles that you've entered, then that's where you have the option to change up your loadout, change up the ability cards, and actually build them up by gaining XP and also putting money into them. So now that we know all the ability cards within the game and how to upgrade them, let's actually go through some of the loadouts that you can put together with them. If you're a PvP player and you actually want to go through this all by yourself, where you try to find the best possible loadout, then arguably the top 10 ability cards with PvP are Gunslinger's Choice, Iron Lung, Hunkered Down, Slow and Steady, The Unblinking Eye, Come Back Stronger, Painted Black, Landon's Patience, Winning Streak, and Slippery Bastard. If you're going into Showdown series, it's likely you're going to be coming up to opponents that have some of these ability cards selected. These seem to be the most popular, they're just mixed with a few of the other ability cards to get a well-rounded loadout. When I go into a Showdown series, I like to select Painted Black. This allows me to paint targets on enemies. With this, I like to have Winning Streak. Winning Streak allows me to deal more damage than the previous shot for each consecutive shot on the same target. And then select Peak Condition. Sprinting uses less stamina and you deal much more damage depending on your current stamina level. And finally, I have Fool Me Once, where you take much less damage each consecutive time you are shot. So the defensive version of Winning Streak. And this always seems to do well with my playstyle. This is only if I'm going into Showdown series. If I was to go into races, I'll select Painted Black, which allows me to paint targets on enemies. I'll then select Horseman, as you deal much more damage while on horseback, and then have Ride Like the Wind. Whenever you take or deal damage while mounted, a large proportion of it is added to your horse's health and stamina. And finally, we have Friends for Life, which allows you and your horse to take much less damage. If you're going into races, it makes sense for you to select ability cards which best suit you and your horse, and these are the ones that provide the biggest benefit. If you're going into free roam, there's no issue of you selecting the previous loadouts as ability cards. Chances are you're going to be able to deal with NPCs, so your biggest threat is other players. So if you have the Showdown series loadout, you should be able to be in a good position to handle yourself if you're under attack. As for the race loadout, it's likely that if you're in free roam, you're always going to be on your horse rather than doing anything else. So yet again, it's not too much of a problem if you select this. But typically what I try to go for is a different loadout yet again. I always select Painted Black. It's just always nice to be able to paint on target. So this is available within every single one of my loadouts. But once we start getting into PvE, this is where I'll change it to be Cold-Blooded. After killing an enemy, you'll regain a lot of your health over the next 3 seconds, and then select Strange Medicine. You regain a lot of health whenever you inflict damage. Your health otherwise regenerates at half the normal rate. And then finally, we have Eye for an Eye, as killing an enemy with a headshot restores a lot of your Deadeye. These are all recovery ability cards, and the reason for this is because when you're going into PvE, you're coming up to different NPCs, and they shouldn't be dealing too much damage to you. It's not like we're coming up to another player, which can be a tricky target as they're bobbing and weaving and jumping about. These are standard NPCs which are fairly easy for you to deal with. They're either standing out in the open or they're behind cover, but not behind cover well. They normally still have their head just peeking above the top. So we don't need to be dealing with combat ability cards where you deal more damage, and you don't really need to worry too much about your defense because the likelihood is that you're not going to be taking too much damage yourself. So recovery is there just in case you do take a bit of damage. You can easily get those kills with NPCs and quickly regain your health. It's not too much of a problem, and you should be doing fairly well with this as your loadout. But anyway guys, this is an introduction to the ability cards within Red Dead Online. As said at the beginning, on this channel we've never covered ability cards before, so I wanted to give everything in just one video. We've gone through the basics, everything that you have to know about ability cards within the game, how you obtain them and how you upgrade them. Then we went through the top 10 ability cards that most players use when we go into PvP, and then we also went through the different loadouts that you can use depending on your playstyle, whether or not you're going to be going into PvP as Showdown series or even races, or whether or not you're going to be going into free roam or or even just some other PvE events. If you do have any questions about anything, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going, so see ya.